you studied literature, you worked in as a diplomat for a while, and then you start your own business, which for 2, 3 years.
It was
But
six,
how
7 years actually.
like 7 years? Okay. How did you convince someone to hire you as a pre-sales engineer? You don't have the traditional pre-sales
No,
requirements.
absolutely. Uh, I think so there are, there is always a dark side to, trying to look for a job. The stuff that gets, often excluded when you're talking about these, ideas is the hard graft it takes, you know, looking at job descriptions, trying to get them to match to your skill set, and trying to find companies that might hire people with backgrounds like yours, And it's very humbling because, I could have sat there and gone, right, I've done X, Y, and Z. I've generated this much revenue. I don't need someone to tell me that I'm not applicable for this job or that job. But, I wanted to prove to myself that I could do it. And it took a lot of time and, failed applications and, lots of interviews and things like that. But I ended up having a conversation with now a friend of mine, a guy called Manish Patel, top sales engineer. He's the one who sort of, took me on, got me started on this path. But I had a chat with him. And what was really interesting was, and it was a company called Channel Advisor. I didn't know who they were really, other than just, they did marketplace stuff. But when I was talking to him, he's like, "Oh, this is really cool. I have my own business as well. And, I kind of did a little bit of what you used to do as well. I think you'd be a good fit for this, sales engineering type role because a lot of what you do, a lot of your skill set, we need this. The rest of it you can learn and I can teach you." So it was a lot of trial and error. Is the long and short of it.
I know many.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. Yeah.
I just like sounds so familiar, and he's still at Channel Advisor.
No, I don't know. So he's not there at the moment. He's not there at the moment, I believe.
Okay, so you got in
Yeah.
there, and now you've been an SE for a while, but you're no longer an
No.
SE technically.
No.
I don't know what is your current
Yeah.
role?
So interesting. Yes, I was an SE for a while. Then I was sort of leading an SE team or solutions engineering team. Now my role is formerly known as technical solutions advisor. But what's really, really interesting is that whilst it sounds like more of a post-sale account management type role, because I manage customer accounts, enterprise accounts on behalf of the company that I work for, Zuvu. But the role itself sits within the broader solutions function. So this is kind of novel to me, and especially within the world of sales engineering, it's kind of unique because what you have is the pre-sales, the post-sales, and the account management all sitting under the broader solutions function, which is, at Zuvu is led by my former boss, another, incredible sales engineer or solutions engineer, Julie Moore. And this is something that I have seen. I think James Kakis, I've seen him mention this as well, but the evolution of solutions engineering into, actually being a complete business function that owns the entirety of the technical sale is something that, is really, really revolutionary. I think it's something that I'm living and breathing right now because to give you an idea, I'm involved, for example, with new customer opportunities. I'm involved in the pre-sale sort of motion, albeit I'm not doing too much. You have a sales engineer that does the demo, does the discovery and stuff like that. But it's incumbent on me to understand the technical scope of any opportunity because if and when they sign, they then become my responsibility. And it's on me to sort of understand how they can get the best value from a solution perspective out of the solution, out of the software that they just bought. But the fact that it's kept within the solutions org is novel. I think it's very, very unique. It means you have this better, you can create better understanding and communication flows and information flows between sales and solutions, but also solutions and implementation. And that's where the sort of, the gold starts to appear, because I've often seen, well, not often, in my short career, I've seen, a little bit of dissonance between, what services expect or can do or have the resource for, and what sales want to try and bring you. And sometimes the solutions engineers just get lumped in with the sales team, which is fine, not a problem, of course. But
So I'm going to play devil's
of course,
advocate for a second, just to preface that I think your role is a great idea. But playing devil's advocate for a second, shouldn't the SE be doing what you just said you would have to do?
it's a fair point, and to a degree, yes, but I think it sometimes depends on the makeup of the company, so the stage of their evolution of the journey that they're at, but also the type of software. Because if it's a software that's, for example, overly complex, so for example, in my last role, Elastic Path, the product itself was not always as easy to understand, and it required a lot of discovery to understand if it would be applicable to a particular business. So in that case, the discovery that's done is extremely detailed. Sometimes it's, more than 1 or 2 sessions. So the SE does that, leads it, and, it's so that it answers that question. But in certain cases where the software is a little easier to consume, or maybe it's a little bit more fast paced in terms of the sales cycle, the SEs have a specific role. And that specific role is to demonstrate the value of the software. That's it. Get a customer to sign. And I think that's where this role starts to become very, very interesting with companies that are trying to transition away from just sell software, understand the ramifications later. This is where this role becomes very, very important, because you can nip those issues in the bud very, very early, especially when you have effectively 2 set solutions engineering minded individuals as part of the sales process.
I see the value in the sense that when we as sales engineers, especially for companies that don't follow, like you have a sales team that their only job is to find a new deal versus manage the whole customer. When you work with enterprise customers, you manage the entire customer sales cycle, which includes post-sales. But for companies who are in growth mode and their salespeople are just jumping from one deal to the next, at least talk a lot in theory. This is how our product helps you, and we need to add the quotations in theory. Right? And then the customer signs, and then the SE moves on, and now someone has to put in that theory into reality. And I feel like that's where you come in,
100%.
where you're making sure that what the theory is correct. We oversell.
100%. So this is a good point. It's a really, really valid point. When I first joined Channel Advisor, Manish's boss at the time, a guy called Johan Maran, again, another brilliant sales engineer. He's now at Salesforce, I believe. And he gave me one really, really valuable bit of advice. I think it was in my second week. He's like, hey, Harman, if you want to do well and you want to keep, you want to do well in this role, not specifically, just broadly do well, but you want to do well at this company and you want to do well in your role, make sure you understand what the implementation team need. What he meant by that was not what do you need to tick off on a box to make sure that they're happy. It was really try to understand their limitations, their resource constraints, and make sure you factor that into how you engage your prospects and how you manage your AEs. So this is something that I have kept with me in every single role. And it's serendipity that I've ended up in a role where basically this is not a pre-requirement, it's baked into my job title. And that's why I'm excited by this. That's why I'm really excited by and really enthused by sort of like the pre-sales community at large. Like I've followed your podcast, like I've seen the kinds of guests that you have on there. Loads of, our fellow sales engineers, solutions engineers are talking about this in some capacity. So it's exciting to actually be a sort of one of those first cogs in the wheels of change, so to speak.